What you may or may not know, Jehovah's Witnesses don't believe Jesus died on a cross. Instead, they preach he died on a torture stake. It's in all their literature. Even their own Bible replaces cross with torture stake. So what is a torture stake? Well, a big upright pole that one is nailed to. No crossbeam to be found. The witness belief doesn't end at the shape. They believe the cross is a pagan symbol, and Christians changed the execution device around the 4th century. For the Christian, this seems silly. The point is that he died and came back to life. The shape of the instrument of death is inconsequential, but since there are serious claims of truth being made, it needs to be addressed. Okay, little history. The Greeks did use torture stakes, which they called stauros. This was practiced hundreds of years before Christ. Now, when Rome took over, they added a crossbeam, ensuring people lived a few hours longer, adding to their torture and humiliation. It's a historical fact the Romans used crucifixion. There's art, money, bones, non-biblical writings, and we know the instrument looked like this or this. Crosses definitely existed and were widely used during, before, and after the time of Christ. Did they use torture stakes also? Oh, sure. They'd kill you on anything. So, what did Christ die on? Well, we can't really know for sure unless time travel is invented, but I'll cover the Jehovah's Witnesses and their, quote, evidence. They aren't guessing. It's a definite. He died on a torture stake and absolutely not on a cross. Their reasoning goes something like this. The word stauros, the Greek word exolon, comparing to pagan symbols, and all this is backed up by scholars. Beginning with the word stauros, the Greek word for Christ's execution device. They say the word translated means upright pole, and it does. However, it can mean more. Now remember, the shape is the real argument, but this has also an upright pole. But they say, no, upright pole only. Is that true? Well, the word stauros is found in ancient literature, used for the mast of a ship, fence post, or bridge post. Now, think for a second. Ship mast, fence post, bridge post. What do all of these have in common? There's something else attached. Wouldn't be a ship mast without the crossbeam for the sail, for the ship. How about a fence? Would be pointless without the beams attached. And there better be something attached to the bridge post or you're jumping across the river. So stauros can't mean pole only. Right away, this doesn't rule out the execution device having a crossbeam. Witness leadership ignores the etymology of the word. As cultures change, words change. They evolve. They take on new meanings or adapt. Just think of the word gay. Saying I'm gay in the 1950s has an entirely different meaning today. Yeah, in 500 BC, this was a stauros, and in 31 AD, this was a stauros. We know the Romans took this and made this, but the name didn't change. So in the 1st century, it meant both. Now, let's use this example. Jesus says in Matthew 16:24, one should take up his stauros and follow him. During this time in history, the Romans used the cross. Fact. Now, let's just pretend. What if Jesus wanted to say cross, not torture stake? Like he's being specific, okay? What Greek word would he have used? Stauros. There isn't a different Greek word for this design. Stauros means both, the pole and the pole with the crossbeam. So evidence based on this word doesn't prove a stake or cancel out the cross. Imagine this scenario. Peter threw the ball. Someone says, it was a baseball. Wait, it could have been a football or a golf ball, a soccer ball. The word alone isn't definitive enough. You're just choosing what you want, just like stauros. The witnesses know this. This is why they'll go to the next word, exlon, which they say means stake. No. This is the Greek word for tree, timber, wood, club, stock, whatever Jesus was killed on. Basically, anything made of wood. Now the witness says, see, torture stakes made of wood, therefore it's a stake. What are crosses made of? Plutonium? Again, these words have a wide range and doesn't rule out cross. They're again just picking a definition and ignoring the others. Just to show you how far they go, in the JW Bible at Galatians 3:13, they translate exlon as stake. However, Paul is quoting Deuteronomy 21:22-23 and making a comparison. The word here in Hebrew is ates, which means tree or wood, timber, gallows, handles, frameworks, again, things made of wood or a tree. Now here, it's describing an execution device, one that brought shame. Now, was it this, or this, or this? Well, the Bible doesn't have pictures, and we don't really know. But the word does not say upright pole only. So exlon isn't evidence of a torture stake. This seems to be the JW leadership's reasoning. Staros means stake because Ixalan means stake, and that means stake because Staros means stake. So nothing on the word front. Now the JW will say, no, our supporting evidence. The cross was taken from pagan myths. Hang on, do you mean the Egyptian Ankh? Well, they do look the same. Two lines, except one is a handheld ritual device and the other was a 12-foot tall execution device, one of the worst ways to die. This is a false comparison. I don't look at the Germanic sun cross and think, wow, that looks like a wagon wheel. And that's the same design that wagons had. Therefore, the Oregon Trail people were pagans. Now, speaking of the Ankh, let's remember the Egyptian religion was near extinct at the time of Christ, and especially in the 4th century when the witnesses claimed it was changed. Why would Christians be appealing to a religious symbol that no one was following? Symbols with 2 intersecting lines are common, found in every religion from across the world. Because it's easy, simple. Anyone can do it. The they look the same argument is just lazy. Now comes the, well, we have reliable sources. Just to give some examples, this guy, John Parson, and the non-Christian cross. He isn't a scholar or a biblical historian. He was a Shakespearean theorist. This guy was a skeptic. He misquoted early church fathers, and his theories are almost solely based on his own opinion. He's about as much of an expert on the crucifixion as I am a rocket scientist. He's certainly not a legitimate source, but that doesn't stop them from quoting his book multiple times. Look, neither are the others. They're mostly no-names who had crazy ideas but shared the stake and cross narrative. Also, look at the dates. Most of these are from the 1800s. This is important because archaeology has gotten way better in the past 80 years. Back then, we didn't have bones, nails, art, coins, writings, and certainly not a wide access to this information. But we do now, which is why the Watchtower isn't quoting any modern scholarly work. Oh, but interrupts the witness. Look here, the Imperial Bible Dictionary. That's a legitimate source. Okay. Oh, wow. Well, if the Imperial Bible Dictionary said so. But let's look at the original source, just to be sure they didn't miss anything. Wait a minute. But modifications were made. There can be no doubt during the Gospel period it was accomplished with the crosspiece. Well, that's not what he's saying at all. This actually disproves the witness position. They misquoted the author, making it appear he said the opposite. This is called deception. Making people believe something that isn't true is also called lying. Now, that about sums up their evidence. Now you might be saying, but DH, there isn't any evidence. Yeah, I know. Just to review their reason, a word that can mean cross, a word that just means wood, historical events that didn't happen, quoting no-name skeptics while purposely misquoting others. Yeah. Now, the witness might admit, okay, no solid proof for a torture stake. But that doesn't mean it was a cross. Well, let's see if the Bible gives us any clues. First, we have John 20:25. The Greek word for nails here is plural, 2 nails. And so is the word for hands. So 2 nails and 2 hands. That would imply outstretched arms rather than ones over the head. That's solid proof of a cross being present at the time of his execution. Now the witness might respond, oh, well, it was still a stake. He just had 2 nails in his hands. First, that's impractical. And second, if that's the case, why do all witness pictures show Jesus with just 1 nail? The other is the sign above the head. The Gospels say a sign was written, mocking Jesus, and placed over his head. If it was a torture stake, it would have been over his hands. Now, there's something early manuscript writers would use. It's called nomina sacra, essentially shortened words. But they practiced this with many words, including staros. Now, staros started with a sigma, tau, and then a sigma. However, it was soon changed, keeping the tau and assigning a rho. Now, why would they do that? Well, this is a starogram and started appearing around 200 AD. Kinda looks like a little guy on a cross, doesn't it? Here's another. You have graffiti mocking Christians showing Jesus, what? On a cross. This is around 200 to 300 AD. In the Dialogue of Typho, chapter 91, Justin Martyr gives a detail of the cross of Christ, and this is dated around 160 AD. This is called evidence. So, was Jesus killed on a torture stake? More than likely no. Sure, it's possible, but the evidence, both biblically and non-biblically, supports the cross. The witnesses have nothing, which is why they have to lie about it. Now, the witness will say, well, you Christians worship the cross. I've met a lot of Christians, never seen one worshiping the cross. Now, I'm not a Roman Catholic, but in their defense, it's meant as a symbol, a constant reminder. If witnesses really have a problem with this, what's up with those jw.org pins? So why does witness leadership push this stake? When you can label someone else a pagan, it automatically puts you in a position of holier than thou. No better than to label over 1 billion people pagans, target their own symbol, create a false narrative, and force your subjects to believe it or else. Now, the cross, for Christians, the reason it's worn or on top of a steeple or set up on the side of the road, because it's a sign of hope. Galatians 6:14, Paul says he doesn't boast in himself, but in the cross of Christ. It's meant to be a reminder of what Christ did, enduring one of the most heinous execution devices known to man, which he did for us. It's a sign that he defeated death by nailing our sin to the cross, so that sinners can now be reconciled back to God. We boast in that, not in ourselves, because we're saved by his finished work, not by our works. Historically, the cross was a symbol of death, pain, and oppression. But God did something. It's now a sign of life, hope, and peace. This is what God does. He takes what is broken and he makes it into something beautiful. He did it with the cross, and he does it with us.